when Monero, when can I just be off the face of this earth, spending my money in total privacy, presumably maybe in Seychelles. I don't know. When I'm just kidding. I love my country. No intention of leaving, but out of curiosity, I know that has definitely been even I think last time I saw a guy talk about Thorchain, which is still like one of my favorite videos. I think he does a really good job of representing the project. And I know that last time the challenge is ring signatures. That technology has been incredibly cumbersome because that's a part of maintaining that layer of privacy. Out of curiosity, is that still have you guys made strides towards that?
So I'm very bullish on Monero just because, in my opinion, they're the best privacy network or protocol that I've seen, in my opinion. Period. In terms of how private they are, like I think a lot of things that say that they're private is not. Like they will typically use mixers in one form or another, and the volume through that mixer is so small that to unwind every transaction that came through it, not the hardest thing in the world. It's fine if you just want to buy a hot dog from a hot dog stand. That's fine. Like no one's gonna unwind that because it's just like nobody cares, right? If you just want to obscure from the hot dog stand how much ether you have in your wallet just to keep your privacy, which is totally fair if that's what you want to do, you can use a mixer and that'll be fine and not a big deal. If you're trying to do it hide from governments, very different scenario, right? So I love Monero. I think it's a great project built by smart people. Re-signatures is a really great design. At least the best I've seen, better than Mimblewimble or these other things. Not that I'm an expert on like encryption or like any of these kind of things or privacy in general, but it's one I had the most respect for. That said, integrating with a rig signature is extremely difficult from Thorchain's perspective because it needs to have all the different validators agree upon who sent what coins to what location, right? And if the design of ring signature is to obscure that information, that creates significant problems to reach a consensus about who sent what coins to what address at what point, right? And what the message was and all those other things. It becomes inherently difficult when there's privacy as a default, which it is in Monero's case. That doesn't mean it's impossible. It just means it's extremely difficult. And so for a long time, we were working with the Haven team to help bring in their expertise of like ring signatures and our expertise of Thorchain and kind of like marry these two kind of minds in a matter, like do a little Vulcan mind meld in a matter of speaking to help create the chain client for Haven and therefore also Monero. That has kind of not worked out as well as we would hoped. The code base for that chain client was not up to the standards of what we need for our project, right? It was written by the Haven team and it wasn't quite what we needed. And so one of our devs broke off with another one of our devs in a sense to say like, I just want to bang this motherfucker out, right? And it's being actively worked on. We have an entire dev, like that's their full-time, main objective is that. And so there's been debates about how to actually implement this concept, right? So one of the debates we've been having internally is that we don't launch it on Thorchain directly. Instead, we launch a fork of Thorchain, a new chain, which is probably going to be called Black Chain or something like it, whatever it's going to be. If that even happens, it's going to require governance votes and people to talk about, like when we're kind of closer to the starting line in a sense. And so then there'll be like a pool with Monero and Rune 2, whatever this new Rune-like asset would be for this new fork, right? Whatever the hell that coin's going to be called. And then a Rune pool, like Rune 1 and Rune 2 pool. And then that becomes, you can use DEX aggregation to connect all those bits together. Do you see what I mean? So you could swap from Monero to Rune, and then to the other Rune, the original Rune on Thorchain, and then from there to Bitcoin, all in a single transaction, right? Without using, IBC or any of these other things. You can do it purely through the Bifrost network.
I see.
So that's gonna be something we are looking at. And again, Monero's hard, and I'm totally bullish on getting Monero integrated because right now it's this isolated thing that requires permission to get in and out of it, which is not good. I would love to see us.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely against the ethos from a fundamentalist day one against the ethos in many respects. And for me, if we want to have privacy in the crypto space in total, like if the industry wants privacy, which I'm one of those people who appreciates and would advocate for the access to privacy. To me, Monero would be the greatest way of doing that, in my opinion, just because it offers the most amount of privacy that we can within the industry as a whole, more than Tornado Cash or something like that can possibly offer. At least in my opinion, that's true. Maybe that's people who are smarter than me could probably argue with me on this topic. But I feel because of ring signature design is better than just a simple mixer that you see on Tornado Cash. But I would love to see it happen. It's still being worked on. It's still going to be delivered. It requires a governance of the Thorchain validators and such to kind of come together and debate and argue whether or not they want to do this or they don't want to do this. But by isolating to a separate chain as a separate fork, you are de-risking the Thorchain network itself from any kind of regulatory concerns. And it all becomes, on its own separate chain that can be, if it needed to be, it can be shut down because of regulatory issues or something like this happens. And the main chain, the Thorchain chain, still carries on like nothing ever happened.
Yeah, and for those of you watching who just might be a little bit confused as to, you might be under the presumption that privacy, if you have nothing to hide, why be private? But I think we also forget how profoundly we are affected by our information just being everywhere. There's a lot of value to be had just by being private. Or maybe you live in a country where you're being persecuted for spending your money in a certain way. Maybe you're in Russia, you want to donate to a Russian journalist who's against Vladimir Putin or a supporter of the Ukrainian war. Maybe you're in Iran and you're trying to get any of the money that you make out of the country to your family in the US. Like, there's a myriad of reasons for privacy, and I think there is a lot of overreach on the government's end. At least that's my opinion. This might be used against me in the future. Even more simple than that, who knows?
Right? Even a more basic case than that, in my view, is that, like, say I want to go to Amazon and I want to buy a TV, and I can buy with Bitcoin as one of my options, and I can have it shipped to my house. Now, if I pay with Bitcoin, Amazon will know how much Bitcoin I have at my house because I'm mailing the TV to my house, right? And then somebody could like hack Amazon, or one of the employees could get access to this information and say, wow, Chad's got 1 million BTC in his wallet and he lives at 123 Thurston Road, I don't know, whatever the hell it is, right? And so you're leaking information about how much crypto you own and where you live. And that's I think that's a problem for a lot of people. Another really basic example is, say I'm doing payroll at a company, right? And I have to pay a bunch of employees. I don't want other companies to know how much I'm paying to my employees. I don't want them to know how many employees I have. I don't want one employee to know what another employee is making in terms of their own revenue, because the day that I hired Jorge to my company where he's working on marketing, for example, was August 2nd. And then August 2nd, there was this new payment of $523 worth of Bitcoin. I can now assume that Jorge is now making $523 per pay period, the hell that is. And that becomes a big problem for me as a manager of a company, right? Very basic, very simple, and very valid reasons why you'd want to have privacy. And that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that, right? I think we all want privacy to some extent, but the point is that we can make the choice of when we want privacy for our transactions and when we don't. If you don't want it, don't take it. If you want it, go ahead and take it. Simple as that.
Yeah, and I think that's like a great way to put it too. It's like it's no one's forcing privacy on anyone, and likewise, we should also be very concerned when people are trying to take our rights away from us in the name of safety. I think it's Benjamin Franklin that said something along the lines of like, if you sacrifice freedom for safety, then you don't deserve either. So, I mean, I might have butchered that quote, but more or less something like that.
I still like the quote.
Anyways,
butchered.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed that clip from Chad Barraford, you should probably check out the full interview. You can click this link right here so you can watch it. And also, you can subscribe to my channel. I'd greatly appreciate that. Thank you for watching Degens for a Brighter Future. Degen safely.